It was a typical afternoon at the farm, sun shining, the air fresh with that sweet earthy scent that only country living can offer. I had just finished my usual routine, feeding the chickens, checking on the goats, and making sure the crops were thriving. As I stood by the barn, wiping my brow, a car pulled up unexpectedly on the gravel road. I squinted against the sun and saw a figure step out. It was my step-nephew, Jake *. Now, let me tell you, Jake wasn't exactly the type to visit the farm often. He was more of a city boy, caught up in his world of video games and social media. I hadn't seen him in months, maybe even longer. So, when he showed up out of the blue, it caught me off guard. I wiped my hands on my jeans and walked over to greet him *. Jake. What brings you out here? I asked, raising an eyebrow. * He gave me that typical half smile of his, the one that said, I've got something on my mind but I'm not ready to share yet. *. Just thought I'd drop by. I've been meaning to get some fresh air, get away from the hustle and bustle of the city, he explained, his voice a little nervous. * As we walked toward the porch, I noticed his eyes were darting around, taking in the sights, the old wooden barn, the fields stretching far beyond, the quietude of the place. There was a sense of unease I hadn't expected from him. Jake was always the confident one, always plugged into the latest trends, but today, something was different. *. I decided to lighten the mood. Well, you came at the right time. We've got a big surprise coming up later today. *. Jake shot me a curious glance. A surprise? What's going on? *. Before I could respond, my wife, Sarah, came out with a warm smile, carrying a tray of freshly baked cookies. You know, Jake, she said with a wink, we might have a surprise for you. But you'll have to wait and see. * Jake looked puzzled, but as we sat down and started chatting about everything and nothing, I could tell he was starting to relax a bit. The simplicity of life here, the fresh air, the rustic charm, it was all so far removed from his usual world. And it seemed to be working its magic. * Just then, there was a sound in the distance. It was a low rumble, like a tractor starting up. We all turned to look, and there, just at the edge of the field, was the big surprise, a brand new tractor, gleaming in the sunlight. * Now, I know what you're thinking, a tractor? That's the big surprise. But what made it special was the fact that this tractor wasn't just any tractor. It was a state-of-the-art model, the kind of machinery that would make any farmer's heart race. And it was Jake's. * You're giving me that tractor? Jake gasped, his jaw nearly hitting the ground. * I chuckled, not giving, Jake. I'm entrusting it to you. We're going to work on the farm together now. You've got the skills for it, and I think it's time to teach you a few things. * Jake's face shifted between disbelief and excitement. Wait, you want me to actually work the farm? Like, for real? * Exactly, I said with a grin. And trust me, it's a lot more satisfying than any video game you've played. You'll see. * For a moment, Jake just stood there, processing everything. It wasn't just about the tractor. It was about taking on something real, something tangible, and learning the value of hard work. It was the beginning of a new chapter, one where the city boy was learning to embrace the slow-paced, grounded life of the farm. * We spent the next few hours showing him how to work the tractor, how to plow the fields, and how to feel the land beneath your hands. I could see it in his eyes, the spark of curiosity, of pride, of someone beginning to understand what it really means to build something lasting, not just scroll through life. * By the end of the day, Jake had come a long way. The unease I'd noticed earlier had disappeared, replaced by a new sense of accomplishment. He was exhausted, but in the best way possible. As the sun set over the farm, he looked at me and said, I never thought I'd enjoy this, but I kind of do. * I smiled, it's good to feel connected to the land, Jake. And who knows? Maybe you'll start visiting more often. * He laughed, but I could see the change in him. The city had its allure, but now, there was a part of him that appreciated the simplicity and satisfaction of farm life. * As we sat on the porch that evening, the air cooling and the stars beginning to twinkle above us, I realized that sometimes the best surprises aren't the ones you expect. They're the ones that teach you something new, something real. And for Jake, this unexpected visit to the farm was the start of a whole new adventure. * The morning sun rose slowly over the fields, casting a golden hue across the farm. The air was still cool, and the only sound was the gentle hum of nature. Waking up, Jake and I had already started our day early. He was now more comfortable around the tractor, his hands steady on the controls as he plowed the fields. It was amazing to see how quickly he had adapted. * I watched him from a distance, a proud smile on my face. He had that look of determination I hadn't seen in him before. It was a far cry from the young man who had walked onto the farm the day before, unsure of himself and the work that lay ahead. * You're getting the hang of it, I called out to him as he finished up a row of plowing. * Jake looked up, wiping the sweat from his brow with the back of his hand. I guess I am. I didn't expect this to feel so satisfying. His words were a mixture of surprise and pride. I told you, I said, walking over to him. There's something special about working the land. It's different from anything else. Jake nodded, his eyes fixed on the horizon, where the sun was climbing higher into the sky. He was quieter than usual, lost in thought. I could sense that the day before, the surprise of the tractor had given him more than just a new toy to play with. It had opened a door to a world he hadn't really considered before, a world where hard work, patience, and connection to the land meant something deeper. So, I asked, leaning against the tractor, how does it feel to be a farmer now? He chuckled. I'm not sure if I'm a farmer just yet, but I can definitely see the appeal. It's peaceful here. I've been running so fast in the city, I didn't realize how much I needed a break. I smiled. That's exactly it. Sometimes, slowing down and doing something with your hands, something real, helps you see things differently. Jake looked around, taking in the wide open spaces, the simplicity of farm life. I think I get it now, he said. I've been chasing after things that don't really matter, you know? I spend all this time on my phone, on my computer, and for what? To be constantly busy, but not really doing anything that feels important. That's the trap of the modern world, Jake, I replied. It's easy to get caught up in the noise, but out here, you find what truly matters. It's not about the gadgets or the fast-paced life, it's about connection, to the people you care about and the land that sustains you. Jake nodded, absorbing my words. The sound of the tractor's engine was a steady background hum, as if the farm itself was speaking to him, reminding him to slow down, to embrace the present moment. As the day wore on, we worked side by side. We fixed fences, took care of the animals, and shared stories of the past, of my family, and of the lessons that the farm had taught me over the years. Every task, no matter how small, felt meaningful. And as I watched Jake grow more comfortable with each passing moment, I knew he was starting to see the same thing. By the time the sun began to set, casting a warm, orange glow across the fields, Jake turned to me and said, you know, I've never really understood why you love it here so much. But now, I think I'm starting to. You're starting to understand the magic of the farm, I said with a grin. It's not just about the work, it's about the peace it brings, the quiet moments when you realize how good life can be when you slow down and appreciate what you have. As we sat on the porch later that evening, watching the stars begin to emerge in the sky, Jake turned to me with a thoughtful expression. I don't think I'm ready to give up city life completely, but I'd love to come back here more often. Maybe even help out more. I could see the change in him, the shift in his perspective. He wasn't just a city kid anymore. He was someone who had learned to appreciate the value of simplicity, hard work, and family. Anytime, Jake, I said, clapping him on the back. This place is always open to you. As the night grew quieter, I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of gratitude. Sometimes, life surprises you in ways you never expect. It wasn't just the tractor or the work on the farm that had changed Jake, it was the quiet moments, the conversations, and the connection to something deeper that had left a lasting impact. And in a world that moves so fast, I knew that those moments, those lessons, were more valuable than anything else. It had been a few weeks since Jake's unexpected visit to the farm, and things had shifted in a way I hadn't expected. Jake, the city boy who once found comfort in technology and the buzz of fast-paced living, had started to return more frequently. Each visit, I could see him becoming more grounded, more at peace. One weekend, I noticed something different in the way he approached the farm. It was early morning, and I was out in the fields checking on the crops when I heard the familiar sound of a car pulling up. I looked up, expecting it to be Sarah coming to bring me some breakfast or a cold drink, but to my surprise, it was Jake. He stepped out of the car, a wide grin spreading across his face as he waved at me. His eyes had a spark in them that I hadn't seen before. You back already? I asked, raising an eyebrow. Jake laughed. You know, I think I might actually be starting to enjoy this farm life. I couldn't help but smile. Well, I'm glad to hear that. It's about time you started appreciating the peace out here. Jake walked toward me, and for the first time, I noticed something else. He was carrying a small wooden crate, almost as if it had some importance. I gave him a curious look. What's that? I asked. Jake's grin widened. I've been learning a few things, he said, placing the crate down in front of me. I thought you might appreciate it. I opened the crate and was surprised to find it filled with freshly picked vegetables, tomatoes, cucumbers, and some herbs I didn't even recognize. It was clear that Jake had spent the morning in the garden. I figured I'd give it a shot, he said. I've been reading up on gardening, and I thought I could try my hand at it. Plus, I know how much you love fresh produce. Asterisk. I stared at the vegetables for a moment, a sense of pride swelling inside me. Jake, this is incredible. You've really been putting in the effort. Asterisk. He shrugged, clearly a little shy about the praise. Well, I guess it's not that hard once you get the hang of it. It's kind of therapeutic, you know? Watching something grow from nothing. Asterisk. I nodded. That's the beauty of it. It takes time, patience, and care, but in the end, you're rewarded. And these? I picked up a cucumber and gave it a gentle squeeze, are going to taste amazing. Asterisk. We spent the next few hours working together, this time not just as farm owner and guest, but as partners. Jake had clearly developed a new appreciation for the land and the work it took to make it flourish. It wasn't just about the tractor or the machinery anymore. It was about the simplicity of the task, the satisfaction of getting your hands dirty, of seeing the tangible results of your efforts. Asterisk. Later, as we sat on the porch with the vegetables we'd harvested, Sarah joined us with a fresh pot of tea. We all relaxed, taking in the cool breeze that had started to sweep through the area as the sun began to set. Asterisk. Jake looked up at me, his expression thoughtful. You know, I never realized how much goes into farming. It's not just about the machines or the tools, it's the heart and soul of it all. Asterisk. I smiled. Exactly. It's about the connection you create with the land, the animals, and the people around you. It teaches you more than you could ever learn in a classroom or from a screen. Asterisk. He looked down at the vegetables on the table. I think I finally understand. It's not just about doing the work, it's about being part of something bigger. You put in the effort, and you're rewarded in ways that go beyond just the harvest. Asterisk. I could see it in his eyes. He wasn't just talking about farming anymore, he was talking about life. There was a new depth to his words, a new awareness. It felt like Jake had truly found something meaningful in this place, something that would stay with him even when he returned to the city. Asterisk. I think I want to come back more often, Jake said, taking a sip of tea. Not just to visit, but to help out. I feel like I'm learning more here than I ever did in the city. Asterisk. That evening, as the stars began to twinkle overhead and the sounds of the farm settled into a quiet lull, I realized that the farm had given Jake more than I had ever expected. It had given him a new perspective on life, on hard work, and on the importance of slowing down. It had also given him the chance to reconnect with family and with the land, a gift that would stay with him for a long time. Asterisk. And as for me, I couldn't help but feel grateful. Sometimes, the best lessons come from the most unexpected places. And this surprise visit from Jake had turned into something more, a new beginning for both of us. The farm had taught us both that no matter how far we wander, there's always a place to come back to, a place where life is simple, real, and full of meaning.